It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of Matilda, Motown, Orphans, and The Big Knife. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. Or is that just Big Knife? Well, if it is, we'll just have to cut it out. But I'm pumped. All right.
So
well,
you are...
I am Charles Gross.
And I am Leslie Hoban Blake. Just want to get that said.
Okay. All right. You should know this by now.
So we're going to start with Matilda, which is up for umpteen thousand Tony Awards.
Hardly surprising. It
Running
was a big hit.
Running neck and neck with Kinky Boots in both the Drama Desk and Tony Awards, based on Roald Dahl's children's tale. And we are engulfed by a set composed of Scrabble tiles. And as the show goes on, you begin to see words in the tiles that relate to what's going on in the set. It's marvelous, and it's there, and you don't even see it until it suddenly becomes visible. And there's a poor little girl named Matilda, and to her detriment, she is the smartest person in any room, and that makes everybody hate her, except for the librarian, played by Lauren Ward, who is luminous in the role, who loves her. And eventually, Matilda leads her schoolmates in an uprising against the Gestapo-like tactics of, are you ready for this? Miss Trunchbull, who was the weight thrower, whatever that's called.
Discus thrower.
Discus thrower, whatever, thank you. No, it was a heavy ball. It wasn't just a discus, it was a heavy thing. Anyway, played by Bertie Carvel, who was nominated for every award there is and is going to win every award there is because he's incredible. He looks like a human physicalization of that guy in that cartoon, Despicable Me.
Oh.
Despicable Me, the guy with no neck, and he walks around like this.
Except he's got hair.
He has hair, but he's amazing. And
he is, from his expressions to when he grabs a student and puts her, or throws her as if he were doing another disc or ball or whatever it is he throws.
To walking down the aisle in character, because they walk up and down the aisles, and he leaves, and he's just in character, and he never lets down for a second.
To a flip that he does during the gym class, all very impressive.
And he's a big guy. He's a big guy.
I should say Ronald Dahl, who wrote this, also wrote James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He, interestingly, also wrote the script for the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and at least one of the Bond flicks.
Well, there you go. Anyway, this role is so demanding, and the theater being what it is, it's the same thing they do with Billy Elliot. There's several children. Several girls
several Matildas, yes.
Playing Matilda. We both happened to see Una Lawrence, who was phenomenal. I would have preferred to see her in Annie than the girl who was in Annie. She's just an amazing little girl.
She really is. She reminded me of a young, and I forget, I'm blanking out on the actress who played Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter movies.
Oh yes, I know who you mean, but I can't think of her name either. Yes,
it'll come to us.
But she is that kind of actress, very nuanced and never showy. I mean, she's doing an amazing bunch of things. And part of the reason that they're doing amazing things is that Matthew Warchus, the director, has directed this to a fairly well. I mean, that you can get little kids to do that kind of precision movement together is amazing. I've worked with children, and that ain't easy, to get them to do that.
But there's no dog in this show.
No dog in this show, thank goodness.
But Matilda has these two parents. You have the
I do, yes.
And who are they can't understand why she wants to be so smart. He's a used car dealer. And in every bad sense of the word, she's an amateur dancer.
Yeah, but they both look like the stereotypical British family of Brighton in the 50s and 60s. I mean, and he's got a crazy pompadour that and Matilda does things to them. I mean, it's just so crazy. Roald Dahl was such a crazy man. He wrote these weird characters. They came from stories he told to his children at night, and then he'd write them down and he'd really make books out of them.
Yes, they treat her horribly, and she knows how to get revenge. Back. And then somehow telekinesis works its way into the play.
Well, she is a special child.
Yes,
she finds out more and more how special she is.
And it can be very sad, but it does have a beautifully wonderful ending.
Beautiful, happy ending with as I say, the luminous Lauren Ward.
Familiar, I think, either with the story or with the movie that had Rhea Perlman and Danny DeVito.
I didn't see the movie. Do you think the movie was good? I mean, I didn't see it.
I never saw it from start to finish, but it reminds me a lot of this. I mean, different styles, but basically the same story. We have some scenes, so let's take a quick look at Matilda.
What about rules, honey? Rules?
I believe that Matilda Wormwood is an exception to the rules.
An exception? to the rules in my school.
You'll never again be subject to abuse, for you're the next caboose. She'll call a truce, Bruce. With every swallow you are tightening the noose. We never thought it was possible, but here it is coming true. We can have our cake and eat it too.
I should mention that Tim Menton did the score.
Minchin.
I'm sorry?
Minchin.
Minchin, excuse me. Dennis Kelly, the book. Very enjoyable.
I wanted to say one quick word
Up
about
against some tough competition for this season.
Well, neck and neck with Kinky Boots. I mean, I think those are the two
Well,
front
actually, I was
runners.
thinking of Annie and Cinderella, but
Oh.
as far as as far as the audience.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, well, I was talking
But
about...
I think it will be, yeah, I think it will go with Kinky Boots. Although, I don't want to get into a Tony discussion, but
Okay.
I'm so glad that Christmas Story has a few
Well,
nominations.
we'll talk about that when because we're going to talk about those. They had to go far back to find something else. But anyway...
So how many playbills?
Oh,
will you give
oh,
this?
I tell you, by the time they were swinging out into the audience, I was a 5.
Really?
Really. I was there.
I did enjoy it. I did have a little hard time hearing the score,
Oh.
which I don't know if it's the sound system or if I need to get my ears. It sounds like a great score. I want to get the album and listen to it a few times. I did enjoy it immensely, but I will only give it 4, which is still pretty good.
You must really hear it. You must watch Tim Minchin on YouTube. He's an incredibly crazy performer. I mean, he's a wacko. That he could do this, that he could sit down and actually write this whole thing is amazing. But watch him on YouTube. You'll be quite surprised.
Okay.
So,
Moving on to Motown. Motown, and this, of course, is, what is it? Yes, another jukebox musical. Now, sometimes jukebox musicals can be really wonderful. Hello, Jersey boys. And sometimes they cannot. And this is one that's in between. This is one that was actually written by Berry Gordy, who in the 60s founded Motown, a famous label that gave us Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, Diana Ross, with and without the Supremes. And at one time, it was a very important label and did so much to bolster back performances and give us this kind of music. And of course, I forgot Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5.
how could you forget that?
Gordy basically wrote this musical, I guess, because he wanted to set the record straight about the story. And this is an extremely sanitized version of how he started Motown, how he built it up, and how eventually Motown lost its influence. It still exists, incidentally.
Yes, it does.
But like many record companies, it's certainly not what it was in its 60s and 70s
Well, I mean, it's so
heyday.
sanitized that they don't bother to mention that he and Diana Ross have a daughter. Who's
Well, apparently they didn't bother to mention it to that daughter either till she was 23.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But I mean, at this point in time, but it's so interesting because you say it sort of hits the middle ground. It's sad to me that this is what Berry Gordy wants to be his legend, because that's what it's like. It's like a Legends act in the lounge in Las Vegas. And what happens is there's no story to speak of. It's just the next and the next and the next, so that suddenly a little kid comes out and somebody says, who is that? I don't know, it must be Michael Jackson, and boom, he's a little blind kid comes out and they say, oh, that's Stevie, he's such a wonder.
And-
I mean...
Well, the interesting thing is when the performers playing Smokey Robinson and Stevie Wonder and Michael come out, they get applauded as if they were the real thing. And I think, Berry Gordy may have written this to, give his version of the story. And you're right. I mean, it looks at one point, he's divorced because the play tells you that. And when he's with Diana Ross, I thought they were married. They were not, and apparently during the time period of that play, he had several more marriages. So it is sanitized, but to me, the story is paper thin, but it worked for me because to me, the whole point of this is just to sit back and enjoy the music. And these are some really good performers. Let's see, you have Brandon Victor Dixon as Gordy, and who sings. Gordy was a performer for a time, but. Here, this guy does sing because he's in a musical. Valis Lakay as Diana Ross. I think it's Charles Brown as Smokey Robinson. Now, I'm not sure who we saw that night, either Raymond Luke Jr. or Jill Belmawi as Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson. I don't know which one I saw, but he was fabulous. The one complaint I have is that they barely do anything with Stevie Wonder. And he was the one performer who has stayed with Motown his entire career. Most of the other hit performers left because the bigger labels could give them bigger
right, and they jump over
deals.
the whole Holland Dozier thing. They mention it, and then they just use the initials, and they go, which was half of the songbook.
And of course, with the Supremes, they kind of do the Dreamgirls thing, but very lightly.
But what's marvelous is that the music itself is given the best possible, in that venue. It really gets to you. I'm sad that you have to sit down. I don't want to go to a show where I have to stand for 2 hours. That there are a couple of those out, and I can't do it. But I could certainly get up and dance in the aisle to a song and then sit down again, And that's what this show makes you want to do. And the Jersey Boys succeeded. Jersey Boys is exactly the same kind of play.
Yes.
But Jersey Boys had a strong book.
Yes.
I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned it because it was one of those few jukebox musicals that became the benchmark that everybody has tried to and not got. We had the same problem with Forever Dusty.
Pretty much the only one. But here the music is just so wonderful. Although honestly, I know they've got an 18-piece orchestra. I wish they had a 24. I don't think we've shown anything from this show.
Let's
take a quick look at Motown.
I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. I guess you say what can make me feel this way. It's my girl. Talking about my girl. Do you love me? Do you love me, baby? Do you love me? I'm dancing, yes. Watch me now, hey. Oh, work it out, baby. Hey, you're driving me crazy. She said, just because you become a young man now, there's still some things that you don't understand now. Before you ask some girl for a hand now, keep your freedom for as long as you can now. My mama told me, you better shop around. I never met a girl who makes me feel the way that you do. You're all right. Famous. Whenever I'm asked who makes my dreams real, I say that you do. You're out of sight. How famous? So viva, oh, look out, baby, 'cause here I come. And I'm bringing you a love that's true, so get ready, get ready. I'm gonna try to make you love me too, so get ready, 'cause here I come. That's what I'm talking about.
So, story very light, performers very good, songs legendary.
Right, absolutely. So what did we give it?
For what it is, You know, and again, this is not Annie or Matilda or whatever, or Jersey Boys, but I would still give it 4 playbills just because I had so much, I just enjoyed the music so much. I'm being generous, I know.
You are. I would give it 3.5, but that's a generous 3.5 for me. It is. I had a good time, but I wasn't happy with it. You know what I mean? I walked out going, you know, but I enjoyed myself.
Yes.
Okay. So now we're going from the music, from the musicals, to a play that is coming back as a revival, a play called Orphans, that was here 20-something, maybe 30 years ago, written by Lyle Kessler. It came in originally with the Steppenwolf Company from Chicago, and it was I saw it, and I remember it being, I don't remember who was in it, I remember that it was dark and disturbing, and I remember it's a play about 2 young orphans who pick up a man, and somehow they use him he becomes a father figure, and it's how he changes their lives and what happens, and I don't want to give away the ending, and that's really, I don't have to say more than that, because it's the performances, but here's what happened. In the original, when the man would touch one of the boys, you shivered. You didn't know what he was touching. There was a violent undertone to that play that is totally missing in this one. It may be because we now think of Alec Baldwin as a primo comedian, so when you see him, you laugh. Right. It's not his fault. He's not doing anything.
He plays the man who's kidnapped. He's kind of a variation on his 30 Rock character.
Yeah, well, he's an interesting guy, and he's a rich guy. And you don't know anything about him. He's a mysterious guy. And he doesn't mind being kidnapped. He doesn't mind being with them. He turns it all around. But my point is that the audience perceives him as funny. He's not doing anything funny. He's playing the play. So suddenly we have a comedy. And that's interesting because when the tide turns and when the twist happens, it's so much more moving to me than when it was all dark and leading to that, you know, directly. So, but there's a performance in this show. Alec Baldwin is very good.
Yes.
So is the young man named Ben Foster. But a guy named Tom Sturridge, who we saw a couple of seasons ago.
He plays the retarded.
He's not retarded. He's
slow.
He's slow, and maybe because he doesn't. He comes out from that, but he plays it like a monkey boy.
Now, when he plays it like a little boy whose parents are not around, which essentially is what he is. So what does a little boy do when his parents aren't around? He jumps all over the furniture and on the stairs and does all the things that his parents would absolutely not want him to do. And I just loved the physical aspect of his performance. I love the way he jumped around. I mean, he makes it look so easy, and I don't think it was.
But
and to me, that really enhanced the character. He's like a rubber ball bouncing all over the room.
Yes, that's it, because he wasn't just jumping. He bounced from here to there.
Yes.
Suddenly he was standing here, and then he was there. I mean, and he's a great physical actor. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what his
And you notice under Baldwin's character's tutelage, he kind of tones it down.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, his other brother, who's the one who's kind of supporting or the head of the house, he has the chance, you know, the guy's giving him the chance to step up. He's giving him a good job, etc. And the older one really has a little more trouble hacking it. Now, of course, there are more expectations for him, but even so, the younger one seems to manage to grow under the tutelage. The older one does not.
Right, but it's also that the older one has really significant anger problems that come out. And again, because the other characters are not, that stands out. It didn't stand out to me so much the first time.
And we have some scenes, so let's take a look at Orphans.
I said, listen, mister, I don't appreciate getting kicked in the shin like that.
What did he do?
He cursed at me.
He cursed you?
Yeah, all kinds of names. Names I wouldn't even repeat. Terrible filth came out of that man's mouth.
What did he look like?
He's dressed real nice. I mean, suit, tie. Must have driven over to Fairmount Park. It was a real nice spring day today, Philip. It's too bad you can't go out and enjoy it.
That's bouillabaisse.
Bouillabaisse.
Congratulations, Philip. That's French. You just spoke the French language. Tomorrow we're having gazpacho. You'll be multilingual by the end of the week. You believe that?
Yes.
Good. You have a simple faith, Philip. I admire a man with a simple faith. Do you have any idea what's in this soup?
No, I seen you throwing that lobster, Harold, plus them clams and scallops and them tiny little bay shrimp.
You realize how long it's taken for each of those individual species to evolve?
I got no idea.
Yes.
1,000 years.
Wrong. Millions, hundreds of millions. In the beginning, we were all the same, Philip. We were undifferentiated creatures. Then gradually, different life forms evolved and separated themselves from the rest. They became individualized, Philip. They became entirely different species. And do you know now what's happening in your stomach?
What's happening?
A miracle is taking place.
In my stomach.
Yes, right now in your stomach, a genuine miracle. If you were a Catholic, we could have the Pope consecrate this place. It would become a shrine. Millions of pilgrims would come and pay their respects because in your stomach, all those highly individualized species are rapidly disappearing. Evolution is reversing itself. They're losing their identity, Philip. They're becoming something else.
Well, what are they becoming?
You, Philip. Part of you.
Me?
Yes, your digestive juices are, right this moment, attacking all them shrimp and clams and scallops, all those highly individualized life forms that it took millions of years to evolve.
All in all, I did enjoy it. Not as much as some other plays that I've seen recently, but I would give this, I think, 3 1/4, 3 1/2.
Oh, I actually liked it as, I would say, 4.25.
Really?
Yeah, I really had an interesting time.
Do we know who played the older brother, did we say?
Yes, Ben
Oh,
Foster.
Ben Foster, okay.
And the thing is that it was such a different play. It interests me as a director myself and a writer. It
Right.
interests me to see what a different time period can do to a piece, to see what a different director can do.
Right.
And this is a combination of those two things. And we didn't mention the director, who is one of my very, very favorites, Daniel Sullivan, who does such wonderful work and made this really his own play.
Right. Well, I never saw the original, so for this, I came in with no expectations, but I had a good time.
Okay.
All right. Moving on. Well, there are several playwrights this year who have been very, very busy. One of them has been, I think, Richard Greenberg. The other, Douglas Bean Carter. And a third, Clifford Odets.
Yeah, the dead guy.
Yes, the dead guy. But his plays are being brought to life. We saw Golden Boy a little earlier this year. And now The Big Knife. And, oh, did I want to take a knife after seeing this. This is basically a very, I don't want to say mean-spirited, but a very discouraged playwright who is venting on a Hollywood system that does not even exist anymore. And there are no heroes in this play. Everyone, the whole crew, is very sleazy, and I don't feel sorry for any of them, not even Bobby Cannavale, as this movie star who has a deep, deep, dark secret that the studio has helped him smooth over, and now he belongs to them. But you know what? And he's rebelling because even though he's getting paid millions and millions of dollars, he's not getting the parts. He's not doing the art. So what is he doing? Well, he's doing his friend's wife, a guy who went to jail for him. He's doing that.
Oh.
You know, and so.
I take issue with one thing that you said,
Yes.
and one of the things that you said was that the studio system doesn't exist anymore. But it did at the time that Odets,
Yes,
and it
yes,
was,
it did.
when you say mean-spirited, it was his, I'm going to get back at you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, and I hate you all. And this is
Yes.
exactly what, and he went on to do a much better version of this in, good Lord, what was it?
Well, this ain't it. I mean,
No,
you've got
I gotta find it now.
Hannibal, who is a great, wonderful actor.
Cannavale,
You know, we saw him in the So-and-so with the hat, and
The so-and-so,
yes, the
yes.
So-and-so with the hat, and Glengarry Glen Ross and Talk Radio. He's a wonderful actor, but here he has no direction. And there is nothing, you know, that draws us to his character, even though he may be, at least on the male side. Well, no, I'm sorry, he's not the most decent one is the guy whose wife he's, but that guy's not around, so we really don't care too much about him. There's Chip Zien, who I loved as his agent. There's Richard Kind, who plays, I guess he's supposed to be Louis B. Mayer, I assume. And he was very good. I think he's been nominated for a couple of awards. And Reg Rogers as Klein's flunky. But all in all, you know, the studio system is gone.
Well,
and the play is just so bitter. And he really couldn't balance it. He was just doing so much
But
vile.
he came back. This is the one I couldn't remember. He came back and he did it with The Sweet Smell of Success. That was the one that he did it in. Same reason, same concept of getting back. It's his. Yes, it's
but that was a press agent.
It was still it was all anti-Hollywood, anti-studio kind of thing.
All right.
Anyway, the point is it was a better play. This is not a good play.
No.
I agree with
it's
you.
not.
And it's dated. But
Very much so.
What it was wonderful in the same way the Golden Boy is that we don't have that much of anymore, even with a play like Assembled Parties. It was a big, big cast. It was a bigger cast. It had more people. They were all caricatures, but they're only caricatures because they hadn't been done before. You know, it was a Jack Palance movie, and Gloria Graham played that girl who has a problem with him and has his secret and whatnot. The movie was kind of fun.
There is a low-level actress who knows his
and has
his
a
secret.
great little monologue that I thought to myself, if Tom Cruise's lovely lady had come back and done that little part, it would be so much better for her than to do the thing that she did in Dead Accounts.
Right.
You know, it was a really that was worth the whole thing.
You get some decent performances here. Let's see, Doug Hughes directed it, not overly impressively, but then again, there's only so much you can do with this material.
So
Look at the talent on paper, and it looks great. Come and see it on stage, and you have a very, very disappointed
So
evening.
interesting to me, though, because Dan Sullivan and Doug Hughes have been neck and neck so many times with, they're two of the most brilliant directors on or off Broadway. And, it looked beautiful. All the parts were there, all the actors were there. So something didn't quite gel. I don't know what. I'm with you on that it didn't quite make it.
I think the play.
Well,
I think the play itself really is very dated.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, and again, you can show things, of times gone by, but here
Golden Boy worked.
It's lost its
Golden Boy worked.
I wasn't overly enamored with Golden Boy either, but it was certainly so much better than this, which isn't saying much, but it was. This is like a very poor. It actually has some similar concepts to Golden Boy. The money versus the art, etc. But Golden Boy did it so much better. This play really doesn't get anywhere, and I'm going to give it a generous 2 playbills.
I'll give it 2.5 because of Bobby Cannavale.
And you know what? Even he wasn't. He
wasn't as good as he should have been.
I will say he was disappointing.
This was his year. He was on Boardwalk Empire. He was on Nurse Jackie. He was on something else. He's been just working, and I expected maybe he's tired.
He's a wonderful actor, but this is not his moment.
Yeah.
And when you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me, us too.
On the aisle.